The Rat Box.
Here it come. Here it come. That never gets old. Oh. Oh. That never gets old. One of the greatest knockouts. How good was the spider? How good was the spider? Welcome back to Cashmere, California TV. This is the Rap Box. We only talk rapping and fighting. That's it. Today we talk about who is the 170-pound king. And let's not just talk about who's the king today, as the stats have it thus far. Let's talk about who's in line to be king, because we're talking about the GOAT, right? I know the names that come to mind, right? I know the number one name that comes to mind. We're going to get to that. Slow down for all of y'all veterans. Slow down. Y'all know it. But there's a few other people that I want to talk about that rarely get mentioned. I also want to... Why do you keep doing that every time I'm recording? You see I'm recording and you purposefully come over here to talk.
Mostly because the clap is on.
Okay, don't watch it. So there are some names that I want to throw out. I mean, no surprising names. I'm not coming out of left field or anything. We're gonna keep it, in line with what we know to be true. So currently, we got Kamaru Usman, right? Kamaru Usman is looking pretty untouchable. I mean, he's, Ultimate Fighter winner, 17-1. And no draws. I don't know who the one loss was from. So far, he has 2 title defenses, both successful. So, yeah, he's not the GOAT right now, by far. But the way he looked against Masvidal, the way he looks thus far, he's still hungry. He still has, all the fire of like a new champ. So you could argue that his numbers could trump some of the numbers that are greater than his right now. And since he's in the perfect seat to do it, you got to kind of put him in the conversation, right? I mean, Kamaru has shown himself to be a dominant champion. He broke Kobe's jaw. Was that like the second or third round? He just completely dominated Masvidal. 2 judges had it 50-45. Tyron was looking great up until Kamaru. Then all of a sudden, Kamaru just made Tyron look regular. He looked like he was just sparring somebody in the gym and then somehow got the title from it. It didn't even feel like he was fighting a champion level fighter. And Tyron is incredible. So that shows you how dominant Usman is. He just made him look average. So I don't know if he'll get there or not, but I feel like you got to put Kamaru in the conversation. Since we talked about him, next I want to talk about Tyron Woodley. Tyron Woodley, to me, is one of the most explosive welterweight champions we've had in a long time. And that's including the top dog that we all know. And I'm saying that because he's more explosive in covering distance, knockout power, and I believe overall power. He just has more than the reigning GOAT name that we'll get to. Woodley is 19-5-1. He has 5 losses. Those losses were I mean, he hasn't really been on losing streaks. I guess he's kind of on one right now because he lost his last two to Usman and then to Burns. But up until then, I mean, he was kind of looking untouchable. I mean, they sent some of the welterweight, elite at him. And Tyron just walked away from the ashes. And a lot of times when he walked away not gasping, not overexcited, just like another day at the office. He put away Darren Till. What? He put away Darren Till with a darts choke. Come on. That says a lot. He put away Stephen Thompson. He beat him twice. Put him away once. I mean, that says a lot. He is like not to be played with. He beat Damian Maia. And not only did he beat Damian Maia, and I know, especially the Tyron haters out there, I know y'all are all saying, yeah, but that fight was boring. He played it safe. He ran the whole. I get it. And as a bar fight enthusiast, I wish I could have saw more of a slugfest as well. Anytime we get a wrestler and a striker, we want to see either the wrestler neutralize the striking or the striking put the wrestler out. Like, we want that. I get that. However, that doesn't negate the fact that Tyron had an incredible game plan, and as a champion, he went out there and did what he needed to do for one of the best martial arts purists that we've ever seen. And I believe, if I recall correctly, there were some people that had him winning like 50-45 on the cards. Come on. Who dominates Damian Maia like that? Damian Maia. Not Damian. Who dominates him like that? Mm-hmm. So you gotta give Woodley his credit. He got the title from putting away the impenetrable Robbie Lawler, who easily, if Tyron hadn't stopped his reign, could have been in the conversation. Because he's been around doing it for so long. I mean, he has much more losses on his record, but he could have built and racked up a lot more wins and title defenses had it not be for him running into the freight train Woodley. So you got to give him his credit. I think next on the list, I would say, I mean, to me, I really feel like there's 3 and 1 y'all know. Come on, we're going to get to that. Slow down, we're going to get to it. So I'm going to talk about 2 honorable mentions, because I'm only talking about 3 fighters, for the most part, in the consideration of the GOAT at welterweight. You got to look at Matt Hughes. A lot of us forget about Matt Hughes. Matt Hughes was a monster. Need I remind you all that Matt Hughes beat the guy that we're going to get to at the end. We'll say that for the end. Matt Hughes beat him. One of that guy's 2 losses, one of them was to Matt Hughes. Matt Hughes was 45-9. 45 wins. I don't remember how many title defenses he had, but 45 wins and beat some of the best ever. Do we got to go back to when Matt Hughes beat Gracie? Yeah. When Matt Hughes beat BJ Penn? When Matt Hughes beat the guy I just talked about? I mean, Matt Hughes has put on, some of he got highlight reel finishes. So anyway, I said I'm not going to go too far until I get a little hype. My bad. The other, I don't believe this guy gets enough credit because he's not in the UFC, which is sad. But Paul Daly. if you're a real MMA enthusiast, you know Paul Daly has been kicking up dust for a minute. 42, 17, and 2. I get it. That's a lot of losses. I'm not saying that's why he's not in the top 3. But 42 wins? And most of his wins, I can't remember the number, but most of his wins are by brutal knockout. And he's beaten some of the best that ever did it. So, just honorable mentions. Now, we get to the man, the icon, the crown wearer, the current 170-pound king, George Rush St. Pierre. GSP is 26-2. Only 2 losses. That was with 9 title defenses. I believe the next person down, I think it is Woodley with 4 at welterweight, if I recall correctly. I can't remember any of the runs that Matt Hughes went on though, so correct me if I'm wrong, because maybe I'm off on that. But GSP, 9 title defenses, 2 losses. And we know those losses. He lost to Matt Serra, an embarrassing loss. That even though he came back and avenged it and completely dominated Serra, just the hype around GSP at that time, the fact that, he was about to be like the guy. And for, Matt to have him looking like, a sloppy drunk driver that just got pulled out the car was just, it's not something you want your mama to see. But he lost that embarrassing fight in round 1 to Matt Serra, and then he lost by armbar to Matt Hughes, also in the first round. And that's when he was looking at the ground and felt like he gave Matt too much respect. Now, GSP went back and avenged both of those losses, so, fairy tale ending. But nevertheless, the record still stands, 2 losses. It's hard to argue that even though he only has 26 wins and, somebody like Matt Hughes has 45 wins, like his days as champion, his title defenses, his number of losses, his dominance when he was in there, a lot of unanimous decisions or submission finishes. I mean, it's hard. It's hard to argue to anybody that as today stands, on this day, no matter when you're watching this in the future, today, July 15th, 2020, it would be irresponsible to not say that George Rush St. Pierre is the current crown holder, the welterweight king, the GOAT of all time. Nobody else at 170 pounds has done it like George St. Pierre. The question is, all the other people, except Matt Hughes, that I spoke of are still doing it. Jordan's numbers get eclipsed. That's how it goes. Chuck Liddell's record gets eclipsed. That's how it goes. So, no different than when Anderson Silva had the title for, it was either, wasn't title defenses. It might have been winning streak. I think it was the longest winning streak. And Mighty Mouse was chasing that. And Dillashaw called him out in the fight that would have had him to break the record, so to say, break the winning record, and he turned it down. We still don't appreciate that, Mighty Mouse. Demetrius, you better than that. You better than that. You took the easy road. And he never did fight Dillashaw. That's crazy. He was calling me out crazy. That says something, to be honest. But yeah, just like that, Anderson Silva, as dominant as he was, eventually Demetrius Johnson, little DJ, eclipses his record. Now he's no longer the fighter with the longest reigning winning streak. So, 26-2-0. That's an amazing record. 9 title defenses. That's incredible. Hasn't been done, to my knowledge, in the welterweight division. The question is, our current title holder is 19-5-1. How will we rank him if he goes 32-5-1? 32-5-1, 26-2. More losses, more wins. How do we rank it? I don't know. I guess how dominant he is has to play a factor. We'll talk about it if that ever happens. We're going to go over it. But yeah, let me know what y'all think, man. GSP, is he still the one? Or do you guys feel like because he moved on to middleweight to beat Bisping, you don't really, categorize him as welterweight anymore because that's where he left off in middleweight? Do you feel like he still holds the crown even though he retired? Some people feel like I just look at the GOAT as far as like who's still doing it to this day. Like, what are your requirements when you think of the GOAT? And tell me which division you want me to do the GOAT of next. You want to go middleweight, heavyweights, bantamweight? The MMA fans that I know out there, like the moment I said those weight classes, a picture, like a fighter popped in your head. Y'all are who I like. Keep watching. Subscribe to Cashmere California TV. We out.
The Rap Box.